Welcome to Beware the Fake Truth, the channel where we separate fact from fiction, expose myths, and uncover the truth hidden beneath centuries of misinformation. If you're tired of falsehoods and ready to challenge what you think you know, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. Vampires have fascinated humanity for centuries. They lurk in the shadows of our stories, from ancient folklore to modern pop culture. But is there any truth behind the myth? Do real-life conditions resemble the characteristics of vampires, and how did these legends take root in history? In today's episode, we dive deep into the origins of vampire mythology, from Mesopotamia to medieval Europe. We'll explore the historical accounts, the superstitions, and the scientific explanations that may have given rise to the bloodthirsty legend we know today. Segment 1: The Ancient Origins of Vampire Myths. The concept of creatures feeding on human life force is far older than Dracula. Ancient Mesopotamians spoke of the Ikimyu, restless spirits believed to drain energy from the living. In Egypt, stories of demonic beings consuming blood appear in their mythology. Greek legends tell of the Lamia, a vampiric entity preying on children. These early depictions set the foundation for the vampire legends that would later spread across Europe. It wasn't until the Middle Ages that vampire hysteria truly took hold. In Eastern Europe, unexplained deaths led to exhumations of the dead, and bodies found with fresh blood in their mouths were staked through the heart. Superstitions dictated burial rituals, placing bricks in mouths, covering graves in garlic, to prevent the undead from rising. But were these vampires something more explainable? Segment 2: Real-life conditions behind the myth. Many historians and scientists believe that real medical conditions may have fueled the vampire myth. One of these is porphyria, a rare disorder that causes extreme sensitivity to sunlight. Victims suffer painful reactions to UV exposure, making them avoid daylight, just like vampires in folklore. Rabies, a disease transmitted through bites, can also explain some vampire-like traits. It causes aggression, fear of water, and heightened sensitivity, similar to how vampires are repelled by holy water. Rabies outbreaks in the 18th century might have intensified fears of the undead. Another eerie connection is sleep paralysis. Victims experience the sensation of being held down by an unseen force, often seeing shadowy figures. Could these terrifying experiences have inspired the idea of nocturnal creatures draining life from their victims? Segment 3: Vampires in Literature and Pop Culture. As the centuries passed, the vampire myth evolved. Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1897 cemented the image of the aristocratic vampire, influencing everything from Nosferatu to Twilight. These stories reflect our shifting fears, whether of disease, immortality, or the unknown. With the rise of cinema, vampires became a major horror staple. Nosferatu, 1922, was one of the first iconic vampire films, creating a nightmarish, monstrous version of the creature. Later, Dracula, 1931, introduced the refined and hypnotic version played by Bela Lugosi, shaping the elegant vampire archetype. The portrayal of vampires continued to evolve, reflecting cultural shifts. The Gothic horror of Interview with the Vampire, 1994, explored the loneliness of immortality. While Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1997, reimagined vampires as complex, tragic figures. The romanticized vampire took center stage in Twilight and the Vampire Diaries, turning them from terrifying creatures to misunderstood anti-heroes. Meanwhile, franchises like Blade and Underworld blended action and horror, portraying vampires as warring factions with deep mythology. The genre constantly reinvents itself, proving that the vampire myth remains as compelling as ever. Conclusion? So, are vampires real? While immortal, blood-drinking beings may not exist, history shows that fear, superstition, and real medical conditions combined to create one of the most enduring legends of all time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of vampires, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Beware the Fake Truth. Until next time, stay curious and question everything.